What's up? Back again. Tonight I'm going to try and do something a little different. I've seen a lot of people do like 20 bands like important to them in their musical development. I'm kind of doing that, but I'm kind of just focusing on like what I call the high school years. So we graduated. We went to high school in Australia. Well, I went to high school over here from 2008 to 2013. So there were a lot of really important moments in that period of time, music-wise. I guess maybe the biggest moment was when Metallica did Guitar Hero Metallica. Like, that was my moment. Like, everything just went out the window, I guess you could say. But that showed me like so much music. But because of that being like the moment, we're going to start with Metallica. And the Metallica CD I've picked, and these aren't in order, like these are just like particular moments that I can remember, and like some sort of an order, but a lot of it is a bit of a blur because it was about 11 years ago, so time has flown. But let's start with the obvious one, Metallica, and the first album I bought from them being Injustice for All. Now, let's ignore the whole bass thing. That argument's been lost 38 years. But this is a really heavy album. It's a fast album. It's got some of the fastest stuff they ever wrote. It's obviously a bit more progressive. And you could kind of see that they were losing like the desire, I guess you could say, to want to play fast. But this is a banger. We've got, obviously, you've got Blackened, you've got Injustice for All, you've got Harvester of Sorrows, To Live Is To Die, and then One. But this, I have no idea why I picked this album. I think it was just because the one song I recognised on the day was One from Guitar Hero. So I'm like, I want this. This is Metallica. Obviously, I'm a huge Metallica fan, so I've obviously made very clear. Kill 'Em All is my favourite album. I have in recent years changed my opinions on Master of Puppets. I like it a hell of a lot more than I did when I was 17. I guess that's what aging does to you. But no, Metallica. Injustice for All, 1988. And I probably bought it in 2011, 2010 maybe. I've had this copy for a long time. Alright, let's go with one of the first heavier bands that I kind of found on my own. Probably just through YouTube and looking for stupid shit. So Ailstorm from Scotland. Ailstorm is a pirate metal band. They're very, very dumb. They're very stupid. In more recent years, they've become dumber and stupider, but more fun. Their crossover appeal is absolutely insane. People who don't like metal, like my mother, finds Ailstorm quite fun, catchy to listen to. Okay. They're just like one of those bands that have like that appeal. And this is a Napalm Records sheet where you can order stuff, but I couldn't tell you. So this is 2011, and this was when I got into the band. This album had just come out. Well, I was into the band, and the album had came out a few weeks later. I think I found it on YouTube looking for something, but no, 2011. So this is another one I've had for a very long time. And they've gone on to great success, headlining festivals across the globe, playing bigger and bigger shows, but this was definitely a big part of my high school years. This one's a little more serious with some of the songs. You've got Shipwreck, which is a banger. You've got Midget Saw. I got Barrett's Privateers and The Death Throes of the Terror Squid. But it's just a fun time. Very fun band, and something that was like with everything that I was kind of finding at the time, like it was good to have something dumb and fun. I'm not a big folk metal guy, and power metal is very specific when I do enjoy it, but this was something that really, really found fun. So this was fun a lot during high school. Let's go with... So, if you aren't aware, there is a show, and that show is called Classic Albums. It used to be... I think it was on SBS in Australia. I don't know what it was. I think it was an English show. And they did ones with like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Motorhead, Rush, Metallica, where they would talk about how one particular album was made. They show the mixing. They show how the levels were done. It was really interesting. And one of the ones I remember was, I think it was 2011 going into 12, so grade 10 going into 11. Christmas Day, no real reason why, I decided to watch the one on Motorhead. And the one they did was Ace of Spades. Now, I picked this album purely because of that episode. This is not any means my favourite Motorhead, but Motorhead became a huge thing in my personal life, and I can't really remember a lot of kids at 16, 17 going around school. At high school, my school, that were like obsessed with Motorhead. So this just threw me down a fucking rabbit hole that I'm still happily enjoying all these years later. But you've got such bangers like Ace of Spades, Live to Win, Fast and Loose. My favourite one, especially the riff, has always been The Chase is Better Than the Catch. But Motorhead, watching that episode really just threw me into this world, and I've never looked back. Motorhead. If you can find that old episode, it's very, very good. Alrighty, let's stick with another classic band. So some of these are greatest hits because I didn't necessarily have a particular album, I guess you could say. But the next one up was we're going to go with Van Halen. I bought this as a Christmas gift going to my first trip to America when it was like a high school exchange, and I had liked Van Halen from something, but I didn't know anything more, so I found this, and this is how I think you should do like a greatest hits, is like the best of both worlds, where you've obviously got Sammy and Dave, and the songs are really intertwined. They got some new stuff, some live stuff. I don't think they touched on the terrible Van Halen 3 album. No, it's not. Is it? With Gary Sharon, because that one was terrible. Yeah, I don't think we've got anything from that, but we've got some of the classics. But no, this was definitely this just showed me a whole world of what Van Halen was, and I do love Van Halen still. One of the rare times I was bummed was they played one Australian show, and I don't think they'd played here in 20 years at that point. But I couldn't go, and it's the only show they did, and they never came back. So this is Van Halen. This is the best of both worlds. Van Hagar and Van Roth. But you've got some bangers. You've got all the bangers. But this is definitely, if you can find a copy of this still, I think this is something that is very important. Is a good stepping stone. So another classic band. I think I saw something about them, and then went and watched the Flight 666 DVD. So obviously, we're talking Maiden. But the album I remember buying, the one that I was enamored with, is the Power Slave album. Piece of Mind is like maybe my favourite of that era now, but Power Slave was the one I bought first, because it had, obviously, you've got the 1-2 punch of Aces High, 2 Minutes to Midnight, and Power Slave around the Angel Mariner. And the Egyptian theme was always cool. I think it was because they heavily leaned into, because it was the the Somewhere Back in Time tour. So they were leaning heavily into the World Slavery tour on the Flight 666 DVD, which had all the imagery. But no, this was a big album. Iron Maiden, I don't love them and I don't hate them. My tastes have changed. I still put them on. I still enjoy them. But the next band is kind of what I think is the pinnacle of like classic metal. That would be another greatest hits CD. You're gonna go with the Essential Judas Priest. You got 34 songs. You got 2 discs. You got like the secondary classic lineup. This has got this has got a song from like at least every album except, yeah, they mentioned Demolition and Jugulator, but I don't think they actually have material from that. Or at least I've never heard material from that, which is probably lazy, but yeah, no. Well, I'll have to fucking check those out one of these days. Not a big Ripper Owens fan. Something about his voice has never really clicked, but it's just... So the day I bought this, I think it was like $10. I also bought the video DVD, which has this and a live show from 1986 on the Fuel for Life tour in Dallas, Texas. And listening to this CD and then watching that, it's just like, this is insane. The 1986 Turbo album has become my favorite Priest album and one of my favorite metal albums ever. But that wasn't something that was a key moment in high school like this one was. But if they've got a whole bunch of greatest hits now, so it's a bit of a clusterfuck on what ones you can find. But if you can find the old Essential Classics one, on Columbia, this is a very good starting point. So, as we're wearing the shirt, we're going to bring them up next. Let me God, I don't really know how or where I kind of found them, but this was a big one. This and Ashes of the Wake, but this was the one I can remember specifically looking for and finding, being Sacrament from 2006. Obviously, you've got Redneck, you've got Walk With Me in Hell, Descending. They got a really good a really, really good making of DVD, which I still really enjoy these sorts of things where they go behind the scenes and they show you their world. But no, Lamb of God have kind of fallen out with a bit because I don't think they're as good as they once were. I did get to see them in 2015 before the classic lineup kind of disbanded, or they kicked Chris Adler out, depending on how you look at it. But no, Lamb of God, one of the better live bands I've ever seen. Like really, really fucking tight. But no, Sacrament. This was a very interesting moment because it kind of showed me that even in the modern age, at that point, like there was a lot of melody. Like I hadn't really experienced that. So, let's go back to another classic. So, in the mid 2000s, this next band from Florida was billed as the next big fucking thing. Trivial. This was the album I spent a lot of time in high school listening to, purely because I love the song Anthem, We're the Fire, but you've got Detonation, Entrance to the Conflagration, and Sadness Will See. I just love this era of Trivium. Another great live band. So this is The Crusade. This is from 2006. Probably that's why. Okay, maybe 2006 had a weird resurgence like 7 years later. But no, Trivium, I still think they're good. Obviously, this is maybe their more thrashy album. That's maybe why I gravitated to this all all that time ago, but I really do have a lot of really good memories with this album and this band in high school, and I still think they're fun as fuck to listen to. Okay. This is another one. Cliche pick, I guess, but probably, so I was getting into Metallica, then I was getting into the Big Four, obviously Anthrax and Megadeth. Megadeth, I'm not exactly a massive fan of. Anthrax, I just enjoyed like the 80s stuff at high school, so I didn't have a specific moment. But then this. It's Rain and Blood. Like it's the cliche pick, but it's fucking perfect to a degree. It is one of the most influential albums on extreme metal ever. I think Slayer is the most influential band on extreme metal in general. Death metal, black metal, fucking grind to a degree. Like the imagery, just everything that Slayer was at this point is influential on like the whole world of extreme metal and extremity. It's fucking Slayer. All I'm going to say is my favourite song is still it's Angel of Death. I remember like really sitting there and listening to like the kick drum part, where the kick drum breakdown, and just being like, holy shit. So, Slayer. It's fucking Slayer. Oh, here's another one. Continuing the thrash thing. Municipal Waste. Don't really know how these came across my these guys came across my radar, but I remember thinking, fuck, they're fun. I have a t-shirt of that I got in 2013, and I have worn it to absolute fucking death, so to speak. But you got Death Ripper, you got Unleash the Bastards, Thrashing of Christ, Terror Shark, Mind Eraser, Hazardous Mutation by Municipal Waste is an absolute fucking classic. I love this artwork. Should really get a new shirt of that, because my other one's fucking decrepit to a degree. But this is a 2005 album. I love Municipal Waste. I haven't seen them yet, but I have been lucky and gotten to meet Ryan Waste in Maryland. He's such a lovely guy. It's fucking Municipal Waste, and they're gonna fuck your shit up. So let's kind of go with a big one. I was just getting into them. I don't really know how. I think it was because I thought Hammer Smash Face was really ironically funny, and so I was addicted to Vaginal Skin and Entrails Ripped from Virgin's Cunt. Just the lyrical content was fucking hilarious. But I really did start going into their catalogue, and by the time of 2012, in March, we got a new Cannibal Corpse album, and my first Cannibal Corpse album, being Torture. This is still some of my favourite songs. It's got Scourge of Iron, which I think has got some of the heaviest riffing they've ever been able to accomplish. As Deep as the Knife Will Go, I fucking love that song. Followed Home and Killed, Strangulation Chair. I fucking love Cannibal Corpse. I got to see him on the tour for the next album in 2014, which I did get to mention in my Cannibal Corpse video. But they were still playing Scourge of Iron off that, and I think they brought that. I think that's never really left the set. That fucking thing heavy live is just heavy as balls. It's Cannibal. I love it. I love that there's like a very kind of safe artwork, and then there's like this fucking dead bodies hanging everywhere. Vince Locke is an absolute genius with his art. They kind of annoy me because then they started to move into this kind of digipack sleeve thing, but I don't know. I'm a jewel case kind of guy, so this is Cannibal Corpse. This is 2012. This is fucking Torture, and this was my first Cannibal Corpse album. On release day too. Holy, I remember like my mind just being blown. Like, holy crap, there's a new Cannibal Corpse album. So let's change this. Let's go back. Let's go to the Great White North, and let's pick something simple. Rush. I watched another episode of Classic Albums, and this time it was on Rush. This isn't my favourite Rush album. I think that might be Power Windows or Presto. I have a really soft spot for Presto, but I've just been blown away by what Rush were. Tom Sawyer, Limelight, The Camera's Eye, The Red Barchetta, just the world they created. As a teenager, I was amazed. I didn't really know too many kids going around town, or even now, too many Rush fans. So this was a band I held near and dear, but I fucking love Rush. It's a great album. It's such an iconic album, and they're back touring to a point, and I really hope they can finally make their way down under. They've never played in Australia. I think they played in Japan in like the early 80s, but they really need to come here. They need to make a trip down under so I can finally go to see them. Alright, let's go with something a bit more fun. So, high school, Guitar Hero was a big thing still, obviously, and maybe the biggest band that ever was birthed from Guitar Hero. Well, it's supposedly, but the sales never really added up. Was Dragon Force. The album that I remember being enamored with is Ultra Beatdown from 2008. Now, in 2015, I got to see him for the second time. And it's not exactly the best, but I got it signed. This was before Vadim had left, the keyboardist. We had the new singer Mark had joined. That was the tour that was his second album. Fred was still in the band. Now Fred plays in Creator. The drummer had changed as well. So it's kind of like half their classic lineup and half their more modern lineup, but I love Dragon Force. I have always loved Dragon Force. Heroes of Our Time, Reasons to Live, The Warrior Inside. They're just fun. They're video game power metal or whatever. Speed metal, who gives a flying fuck? But Dragon Force is a fun band. Really, really good live. I've seen them twice, 2013 and 2015. I hope they come back on their new album cycle, because that's a fun album. It's got a song about the Space Marines from Warhammer, which is really fucking cool. I love Dragon Force. Obviously, Inhuman Rampage is another banger. The Power Within, which is kind of like their comeback one. But this is the one I gravitate towards. I hold this album very close. I know really used to get made fun of for liking Dragon Force. People still do it. I think you, Devon. But Dragon Force is a fun band, and they're a really, really good band for people just getting into guitar and metal. Alright, let's continue with the power metal. So, 2013 we had the, 2012, should know this. So around that time, in late high school, I was reading a lot of Metal Hammer, as you can imagine. So I was learning about a hell of a lot of bands and what was going on and just everything. So I remember there was a lot of hype around Sabaton. This was like their last album before they kind of really went big. They kind of like decided they were really going to commit to the touring and take it around the world. And yeah, it's the Swedish Empire. And I think it was from 2012. I want to say it was 2012 or 2011. I can't specifically remember. But Sabaton is such an iconic band. They're such a fun band. They teach you about history. They teach you about everything that's kind of important without being leaning towards one side. They kind of show you all of the history. Is 2012. So I think also the Art of War album was very, very important in my stepping stones, but this, because it was, there was a version in Swedish and then there was a version in English, and I remember that was what sold me. It was like, oh cool, I didn't know you could do like a whole fucking album in Swedish and it would be released and like so widely accepted. So this is the 2018, this is the reissue. I think it's a platinum edition, so it's the anniversary. I think it's because they sold a whole bunch of copies in Sweden or something. But this is a beautiful edition. It's lovely, it's silver, I love Sabaton, and Carolus Rex was my stepping point into a world of just fun and learning a lot about history. Alright, let's continue with, let's go with this one. So another band that was big in high school, kind of around that period, maybe, I think it was like 2 or 3 years earlier, would have been more influential, but Children of Bodom. Now, I used to watch a lot of random videos on YouTube and just look for things that looked cool. And I think I found the Are You Dead video one day, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is so cool. And just, yeah, really got into this one. I don't know why, I do love Children of Bodom. I've got one of their flags hanging up on my wall. I just realised I was missing 2 from this video, so I had to kind of go fix that one. But no, I don't really know why I ended up on Children of Bodom one day. I couldn't. And when I used to have an iPod Classic, and holy crap, I took that thing everywhere. All I used to listen to at school was just like there was a lot of Children of Bodom, Slayer, Sabaton, Aylestorm. I used to live in my own little world. Because those fuckers told me I weren't allowed to use them at school anymore. But this was I think it was something maybe with the production. I don't know, it's fucking heavy as balls. It's a lot of fun, and I love Children of Bodom. Never got to see them, unfortunately, but they are an important band, and a band I've mentioned in countless videos. So, I'd maybe say the first, this even predates Cannibal by a good couple of months, but maybe the first death metal band I got into was Amon Amarth. The album that I think a lot of people, at least the song a lot of people got into, was The Pursuit of the Vikings. This is a 2004 album. The only thing that's changed from this to what's currently going on is they dropped Friedrich because he wasn't exactly a great live drummer, and they've got this fantastic guy called Yoki, and I don't know what his last name. I think he's half Argentinian possibly, but no, nothing's changed in the lineup. They're a lot more commercial, and they're a hell of a lot fucking bigger than they ever could have been if they hadn't taken the leap. I think, like a lot of people, they watched The Pursuit of the Vikings and just thought this was the coolest fucking thing in the world. Oh god, how many times have I seen it? Twice? Yeah, I've seen them twice. Great live band. Sort of played a tiny club in Brisbane a couple of years ago. No stage get up, just like a monomark background and a couple of amps, and holy shit, that thing was wild that night. Ironically, it was the first time I saw Sabaton. It was just these 2 titans of Swedish metal, and like some of the biggest festival bands in Europe still, just playing this fucking tiny place. When I say tiny, I mean it was like I think 1,200 capacity at like absolute peak, but from 60 to 70,000 people to that's a small joint. And then the next time I saw Sabaton, they played to a 4,000 cap room, which was which was insane. But no, I haven't seen a Monomath in a long time. I'd like to again. If it was a good lineup, I have a lot of really good memories with this band, and I love this album. Got fantastic riffs. It was a big, important stepping stone for me in finding extreme metal, and this is one of my favorite death metal albums. Even though it's not really pure death metal, it's just one of my favorite death metal albums. So that's a Monomath, Fate of Norns. Let's go with, this was the first more like brutal death metal album I ever really got into. I think it was possibly because of Infidel Amsterdam. Ed did something about them, and I was just enamored by them. They're the Scottish band Cerebral Bore, with their 2011 Maniacal Miscreation masterpiece. I have a t-shirt of this. I am very specific, and I do not want to. I can't buy their merch anymore, so you kind of just have to protect it with your life. At one point, I know for a fact they were working on new material. This was back when Facebook was a lot less weird, and I just randomly found their drummer one day and messaged him, like had a fucking 3-hour conversation with him. He was really, really nice about it. But I just like reached out and said, "Oh man, what's going on? Like, you guys working on new material?" And he gave me some updates, and we talked about a few other things, but no, Cerebral Bore is an absolute fucking crushing band. And very important band for me, because they were like one of the first more brutal things I got into that I really felt like my own, I guess you could say. They've only ever done one album, which is a shame. I know Earache just redid this a couple of years ago because this was kind of out of print, but this is Cerebral Bore. I really should spin this one again. Yeah, I might spin this one tomorrow. Or later, I'm not sure. But Cerebral Bore will fuck your fucking shit up. Alright, let's go to... Alright, so... around that 2012, 2013, I think this band was releasing a new album, or had... No, that was 2011, sorry. I'm thinking of... My timeline's a little bit messed up. But, I found In Flames. But what I found In Flames mostly for was this artwork. I remember just looking at it at a store and being like, I'm looking for Christmas presents, and I think I picked up an Amaranth CD, and I picked up the Exodus, the Vakken Carnage live Vakken Atrocities thing. Obviously there were two fun bands from high school, but like this was like a specific one. This is the classic lineup, as you can see. So this is kind of like a very pivotal moment. Warwick, this was 2000. This is like when they really was like on the verge of breaking into North America and the world, and just... I love this album. Ordinary Story is a banger. What else is it? I love this artwork. I don't know why I love this artwork. Yeah. Obviously, In Flames has changed a lot over the years. I still haven't seen them in a live capacity. I don't know if I really want to at this point. Too much has changed. The Halo Effect kind of plays a closer style to this, with Michael from Dark. I'll say Dark Throne for a second. With Michael from Dark Tranquillity, which is basically just ex-In Flames members. Well, it basically is ex-In Flames members across the board. I'm Patrick Janssen because Jasper doesn't really want to tour anymore, which nobody blame him, from The Haunted and like a bunch of other stuff. But In Flames Colony. I really need a new In Flames shirt. Maybe this or Clayman or the Warricle or Lunar Strain or any fucking album before 2000. My sweet spot for In Flames goes up to about the 2006 one. Take This Life. It's it is Come Clarity. That's kind of my sweet spot. I think they still got some good material. I didn't really like the last album. I think it was called Foregone or something, because they released all the singles that were like all the singles they released were just too good, and it was kind of a bit of a boring album when you finally listen to all of it. But no, I don't think this is one of the most important melodic death metal albums and one of the most important Swedish albums in what would come. So we're going to go with In Flames. Only a few more left. I don't know how they came across my radar, but Volbeat. Just a fun album. I know people refer to can't get into Michael's voice, which makes sense because I guess everyone's different. It's different tastes. This was the live. This was the one that had Millie Petrosa from Creator and Michael Denner from Merciful Fate. It had Barney Greenway. I think this is the one with the. I was in my place, but no, maybe it doesn't. So I don't know what I'm thinking, but this was Beyond Heaven, Above Hell. I think this was 2010, so this was kind of coming out, and I remember finding them. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know how I found them. I just kind of found them one day. I think it might have been the Heaven or Hell song. Another YouTube deep dive. There's some bangers. I think this is a really fun one because it's got some really heavy shit, but also some really dumb fun stuff. I love Volbeat. I've always loved Volbeat. I still love Volbeat. I was really lucky I got to see their first Australian tour. They played this tiny little fucking stage at Soundwave one year. It was front row. It was absolutely insane. So that's Volbeat. Above Heaven. Sorry, goddamn. Beyond Hell, Above Heaven. Okay. Speaking of him, we'll continue with this one. I don't know. I don't think any of these were the ones that showed me what they were, but Creator Phantom Antichrist I got in late, a couple of months after it come out. So I got this in 2012, and I was just, I think this is fucking fantastic artwork. I was lucky I also got to see them on this tour. 2 years later when they came to Australia finally, 2014, and I'm very lucky I get to see them again in a couple of weeks. Why don't we just take that out and show you that artwork? Oh boy, I think that's ridiculously cool. What's this one? Yeah, there was this. There was also the live DVD, Dying Alive, which they kind of did as a joke on the incoming apocalypse that we never got. It was a show in Germany somewhere. That was a live DVD. That was great. This has got a bonus DVD. This has got a making of, which is interesting, and then a bunch of footage from Wacken 2011 and 2008. And the one after this had Wacken footage from 2013 or something. I don't know. Creator's still in fine form. Their new album, Crushers of the World, is out, and it is fucking crushing, unironically. This is Creator. I have a shirt for this album as well. I think I got the same order as my Municipal Waste one. but Creator was a big. It was the first German band I really got into. And then it was Tankard, then obviously years later was Sodom because Maze of Torment wouldn't leave me alone about it. And then I got into Destruction, and now there's like a whole bunch more. But I've always had a soft spot for this album. And we've got bangers like Death to the World, United in Hate, Your Heaven, My Hell, Victory Will Come. It's a fucking banger. Okay, so this one had come out, I don't know how I found it. I remember, I think I found this. There was a period like right at the end of high school, in like that last 2 or 3 months, I tried getting into the same time Dying Fetus on Reign Supreme. I tried getting into Cattle Decapitation on the Monolith of Inhumanity, and I tried getting into Aborted on the Origin of Disease. Oh, sorry, Global Flatline. Origin of Disease is the name of the fucking song. Yeah, but the only two that have stuck are obviously Dying Fetus, because I love Reign Supreme. So what if I do drugs? Fuck the baby, let it die. And this has got Trevor on it, that's cool. Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder, which would have been a really big band in high school if I wasn't an idiot and actually spent time with their material. But I don't know, I love this artwork. I think Sven might have done some of it, because he's really into this sort of stuff. I wouldn't have a clue who did that. Like a zombie, sort of like fucking horror art, obviously. But I love Aborted. I like a majority of their stuff. I think their last album was good. It just had too many. It was just clusterfuck with because it was just filled with guest spots. But I can't really complain that much. But I love Aborted. Haven't seen them live yet. Weirdly, every time they've come through, I've had something else on. But we'll get there. But I'm really glad this one stuck, because this one has always been a fun one. Yeah, fucking love Aborted. Not my favourite album. I think that would still be like the Archaic Abattoir, Engineering of the Dead, Retrograde. Yeah, kind of that, like that stuff. Alright, last lot. This is the absolute last one, I swear. So, 2013, you had one of the biggest comebacks in death metal, obviously. Carcass returned. I remember couldn't fucking not see this anywhere. They had, the surgeons had returned. After what, 2018, 1996? After 17 years, I want to say. Obviously, they had run through their reunion shows a couple of years previous, but they were back with an album. Spun this a couple of days ago, and holy fuck, it's still a banger. I fucking love Carcass. Anytime I can make a video that involves Carcass, I will. I have got a Carcass collection video, but it's a little bit it's been pushed back because of some things out of my control. I know who to blame, but I don't want to hurt her feelings anymore. But we will get the Carcass video sooner or later. Probably end up with more Carcass stuff anyway in America. Oopsies. You've got one of my favourite ones that I don't know why. It's just the Granulating Dark Satanic Mills. It's a great video. Mountain of Excretion, Captive Bolt Pistol, Unfit for Human Consumption, I think is like the perfect Carcass song, because this has got all the imagery, but it's also like the modern, more melodic death metal sound. In the video for Unfit for Human Consumption, you obviously get Ken. You obviously still get the Tools of the Trade kind of art, and I love this image for Carcass. You got 3/4 of that lineup still kicking around. They've changed guitar players a few times. but I never really had a solid one. Then obviously you got Torn Arteries a few years later, which was a little more polished, but I still think an important step in the catalogue. You got they had really good artwork. 2 EPs in between that. I've seen them twice. I would see them any day of the fucking week. I now just realised that if what I think is why is it figure 7? Oh, that's the fucking song titles. No, isn't it 6? It is. I've now just realised how this actually works because I'm a dumbass. I love Carcass. Oh, I'll keep saying I love Carcass, but I love Carcass. Maybe the most important extreme metal band that ever came out of England because of what they created, what they did, what they meant for the scene, what they were able to create with an image, being completely vegan, just going down this horrific anatomical path, the bands that influenced the genre that they created that they don't really want to be a part of to a point. I love. Yeah, so this maybe wasn't like the pinnacle of my high school years, but this was definitely a big stepping stone because I've now just, over the course of the day and thinking about this video idea, I've now realised how important this specific album was. But all these albums were. This was a big... High school was a long time. And you find a lot of things in high school, and you find where you want to go as a music fan. But I remember a time I liked folk metal. I was a nerd. Never really went down the metalcore route. Grindcore came after. Black metal a long time after. I got into more classic rock as the years have gone by, but I don't want to talk about any of that. I just want to talk about some fucking slabs of brutality and fun times. Yeah, this was high school. I'm interested, what were formative albums when you were in high school? I've got some ideas on what could have been depending on what your ages were and where you were, but what did you spin? Remember, go fuck yourself and stay underground.